Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful morning or afternoon, wherever you may be. I just got started here. It's good. It's good iced coffee. Unfortunately, I didn't make it myself. It was coffee that was um, in a container, but goals. All right. So I figured we would do today. It's a Saturday, and I do enjoy doing my reading on Saturday. So with y'all, today I found The Law of One by Ra, supposedly. So this dates back to when I saw a particular thread in a forum a long time ago, and they were talking about there's this person that supposedly channeled Ra through them, the spirit, the sun god of Ra through them, and they were talking about the universe. So it's been a while since I've actually read. I don't think I've read the whole thing, but I read quite a bit of it. I remember back in the day, and I'm looking forward to going through all this. So, some of that. Let's keep that there. So, with that being said, let's let's switch right over to the words. So here we go. Excellent. All right. And if the music's too loud, you let me know. I can definitely change that as well. So, getting into it. First, another drink. Let's put that there. Yeah, I'm going to organize this space a little bit. There we go. Okay. So, Law of One, Book 1. So I think there are 5 books. This is Book 1. And let's read the introduction so we all have a little bit of introduction here. Book's an exact transcript from the tape recordings of 26 sessions, an experiment designed to communicate with extraterrestrial beings. Started an experiment in 62, refined the process for 19 years. In 81, the experimental results changed profoundly the quality and precision. The book is simply a report of the beginning and latter phase of our work. Since our experimental work began, even before we officially formed a research group, there was considerable confusion about the nature of our research. I'd like to state that I consider my point of view to be purely scientific. Many readers have used the basis for its evaluation, a previously assumed philosophical basis, which has ranged from what I would call objectively scientific to subjectively theological. It is not the purpose of our research group to attempt to do anything other than make experimental data available. Each reader will undoubtedly reach his own unique conclusion about the meaning of the data. In recent years, there has been much controversy about phenomena that were apparently incompatible with accepted methods of scientific research, including things like UFOs, mental metal bending, physics surgery, psychic surgery, and other seemingly miraculous happenings. To prove or disprove any of these alleged phenomena is certainly not properly the task of the casual observer. However, most of the public opinion has been generated with respect to these events seems to be the product of quick, superficial investigation. After almost 30 years of research, the experimentation in the area of so-called paranormal phenomena, I must recommend extreme caution in reaching a conclusion. If it is possible to make money, gain notoriety, or have fun from perpetrating a hoax, then someone usually does it. Consequently, paranormal or psychic areas are prime targets for the trickster, and the careful researcher usually has to observe copious amounts of garbage data in order to find a possible embedded gem of truth. This is especially true of the Philippine psychic surgery and a large area of spirit communication in general. It seems to me the presently accepted scientific paradigm is less than adequate. True. It is my opinion that our present natural philosophy is a very special case. A much more general case yet to be unveiled. It is my hope that our research is in the direction of this discovery. After assimilating several million words of alleged extraterrestrial communication, um, extraterrestrial communication. Where did I go? It is also my opinion that the book and the subsequent volumes of the raw material contain the most useful information I have discovered. As a result of all this delving into rather confusing subjects, UFOlogy and parapsychology, I, of course, have formed my current opinion of how things really are. This opinion may change at any time, and as I become aware of my future information, the book is not intended to be a treatise of my opinion, so I'll not attempt to defend its validity. The following is the best guess I can make about what we think we are doing. Only time will tell the accuracy. Our research group uses what I prefer to call tuned trance telepathy. Oh, hold on a second. If I haven't started this. Okay, it is working. Our research group uses what I prefer to call tuned trace telepathy to communicate extraterrestrial race called Ra. We use the English language because it's known to Ra. In fact, Ra knows more than I do. Ra landed on Earth 11,000 years ago, some sort of extraterrestrial mission with the objective of helping Earthman with his mental evolution. Alright, so far, this is interesting. Failing his attempt, Ra retreated from the Earth's surface, but continued to monitor activities closely on this planet. For this reason, Ra is highly informed about our history, languages. Probably the most difficult thing to understand is Ra is its nature. Ra is a 6th-density social memory complex. Since Earth is near the end of the 3rd-density cycle of evolution, this means that Ra is 3 evolutionary cycles ahead of us. In other words, Ra's present state of evolution is millions of years in advance of Earthman's. It is not surprising that Ra had difficulty communicating with Earthman 11,000. I'm not sure Earthman is supposed to be us. That would only make sense to me. Not surprising that Ra had difficulty communicating with Earthman 11,000 years ago. The same problem still exists in our present enlightened time. At this writing, we have completed over 100 sessions of experimental communication with Ra. This approximate 300,000 words of information has suggested to me a possibly more adequate scientific paradigm. Only time and future will serve to validate and expand this paradigm. UFOlogy is a large subject. A reasonable amount of background material would swell this introduction to book length. Therefore, the remainder of the introduction does not attempt to cover every portion of this diverse growing field of study, but is instead an accounting of some of the pertinent parts of our research from our beginnings to the present day and the Ra contact. I've asked our long-term researcher, Carla Ruckert, to tell the story. First met Dawn. Okay, 200 hypnotic age regressions. Birth experience, possibility of reincarnation, joining experiment, Ford Motor Company, price it acquired, non-acquainted with the information. John's hypothesis was that the phenomena might be reproducible, so he invited a dozen of his engineering students to join in the experiment with the objective of achieving some sort of telepathic contact with a source similar to that of Detroit's group. I was the 13th member, having become interested in the project through a friend of mine. Hold on a second. This music is not really working for me. I'm gonna switch it up. Let's try... Yeah, let's go with that. So Don's hypothesis was the phenomena might be reproducible, so he invited a dozen of his engineering students to join an experiment to achieve some sort of telepathic contact with a source similar to that of Detroit's groups. I was the 13th member, having become interested in the project. In those early days of contact attempts, Don attempting strenuously to keep the situation controlled, months went by what seemed to be remarkable but puzzling results. As we sat meditating, according to the instructions, everyone in the group except me began to make strange noises with their mouths. For my part, my main difficulty during those 6 months was keeping the straight face and not laughing as the sessions gradually became a raucous symphony of guttural clicks, slurps, and tongue flops. The nature of the experiment changed drastically when the group was visited by a contactee from Detroit. The contactee sat down with the group and almost immediately was contacted by the telepathic impression saying, "Why don't you speak the thoughts that are on your minds? We are attempting to use you as instruments of communication, but you are all blocked through fear you will not be speaking the proper words." Through this instrument, the group was instructed to refrain from analysis, to speak the thoughts and analyze the communication only after it had been completed. After that night, a month had gone by before half of the group had begun to produce information. By the time a year had passed, all in the group except me were able to receive transmissions. The speech was slow and difficult. The individual wanted a precise impression of each word. Nevertheless, there was an exciting time for the original group of students. In January 1970, I left my position as the school librarian of a 13-grade private school in Louisville and worked with Don full-time. By the time he was convinced the great mystery and did the research concerning extraterrestrial intelligences, alright, I mean, we could read all this, but let's just kind of skim. An open mind, right? One willing to be gullible leads to possessor all kinds of subjective and personal certainties, not equal proof, sure. However, the subjective knowing is a central part of the spiritual evolution, which Ross speaks so compellingly in this volume, which you have researched for many years. Seance began as all seances do, the Lord's Prayer and Rock of Ages, singing the hymns such as Rock of Ages and I Walked in the Garden. There were approximately 26 people in the bare room. Okay, so this is just giving us like the briefing of what went into this first. Both in the seance, the following seance, Don and I called up. We could see ghost-like figures. I was impaired with night vision. Room very cold. Every time more serious. Okay. The book is fascinating, especially if in our own book. The identity was so close. Okay. Yeah, UFO phenomena is strange. Now, UFOs, that is an interesting topic. I don't think UFOs are not physical, but spiritual or dimensional things. They're not of this reality that we perceive. That would only make the most sense. Maybe they have vehicles in which to transport themselves into this three-dimensional reality, but I don't think that UFOs, as we conceive of them, are that. Well, over half the people in the United States have said nationwide polls believe UFOs are real. Yeah. Experience of being able to account for some period of time. They're called UAPs now. Get with the times. Anyway. UFO experience called by a friend of the sun. Extraordinarily concerned. And what else? In January 1977, merely 18 hours or so after our witness. Alright, well I want to kind of get into this is LNL research. Right, this is where I got it from. So there is a website, and I could pull that up. I'll pull that up. Oh no. This is where I got it from. So I'll go ahead and there we go. Yeah, right here. I could freely download it, so I assumed that meant that I could just, I could just read it on here. If they didn't want me to, you know, they wouldn't put it up as PDF. So I assume that would be okay. And that's, so if you want to learn more, you can go to this page and learn more about it. But that's where I got it from. So if you guys are interested in reading more, you can read ahead of me. Or wait, this is the teaching. Where is it? No, I'm gonna go to all books. This one. This is the one. So this is where I got it from. So there's 5 books, and this is the original one, and this is the outfit that started all this research here. So if you want to learn more, they've got all these other books. I've not gone into any of those, but this is the one that I remember because I saw it in a forum a long time ago, and always been, I've kind of thought about it off and on once in a while, so that's why I've got it up here. All right, so getting back into this. Let me pull back up my yeah. Let me pull back up here. There we go. Yep. So, Rock Creek, communication with extraterrestrials, because we know there's no way of proving this basic concept. Right. Telepathic. There's no way of proving if this is actually real or not. So I take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, everyone should too. But if it rings true to you, to your sense of self and your sensibilities, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you look at, Scott Adams, he's like, you create your own reality, however you determine it. And I think a reality with this kind of information in it is a lot more useful than one without. Just makes more sense of things. And, the things that you can't see are not necessarily bad things either. Or things that we should just discount. Anyway. As modern scientific theory would probably have you believe. Anyway, regardless of the more occasional frustrations involved in paranormal research, the serious researcher of UFO needs to be persistent investigation. I mean, I could read all this introduction, but I'm gonna skip ahead. Skipping ahead. Skipping through the introduction. We can come back to the introduction at some other time, but I want to get into the contact, supposedly. Oh wait, here's this. Okay. Alright, fine, we'll read this. The creation of the Father, and then the Huyton calls it very simple. Wait, we got all this here. Alright, short and affirmative. Nature of reality. Oh gosh, now I gotta, because they put these paragraphs. Alright, fine. This is where I want to get to. According to the entity, Anton has spoken with our group, several others, purpose of being here, seeing nice guys at the time. Provish country, desire to be of service. We have been contacting people for many, many years, of your years, and contacting in intervals of thousands of years that sought aid. It is time for many of the people of this planet to be contacted. For many now have understanding of desire to seek something outside of the physical illusion that has for so many years involved the thinking of those of this planet. The process we are simulating is one of which is self-generating. As more and more of those desire who are contact receive it and pass it on to others, then those who receive this passed on information will then themselves be able to reach a state of thinking, understanding sufficiently in tune, shall I say, with our vibrations in order to receive our contact. For this, my friends, is how contacts works. It is first necessary, if the entity is to be able to receive our contact, for him to be able to a certain vibration as a result of his thinking. This is greatly speeded by the involvement in groups such as this. Turn that down just a little bit. To the start of his thinking, and this greatly speeded by the involvement of groups such as this, and then is finally done through meditation. It In other words, the verbal communication given to this entity by the channels, such as this one, create a system of thought and desire for spiritual awareness that raises his vibration. I find it interesting that there is just so much about spirituality that talks about vibration, and Nikola Tesla talked about it, about energy, and 369, and what did he say? Think in terms of vibration, energy, and here, I'm going to find the quote. Nikola Tesla, understand the universe. Yeah, that's supposedly, this is the quote. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Why is there so much talk about this if there's nothing to it, right? Why would there be so much talk of energy and vibration? It's also interesting, I think, that the Department of Energy of the United States has a specific clearance level that is only for the Department of Energy, and it's called a Q clearance, and supposedly that gets you access to whatever energy secrets that the United States possesses, which is interesting in itself because no other part of our government has such a clearance level, right? So energy is obviously very important. Energy is so important that they have to classify it as a special kind of clearance level. I mean, why else would they do that? Why not just make it a top secret then? If it was just run of the mill, like, you know, some nuclear bombs or whatever. If it's something that is world altering, world shattering, dimensionally transforming, there's no other reason you would classify something at a secretive level that much. So if you want to think in terms of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. It's just interesting how much that comes up in spiritual, metaphysical writing. Just all these ideas right here. All right, continuing on. In other words, the verbal communication given to the entities raises his vibration. Right. The Confederation of Planets in service of the infinite creator are very sorry that we cannot step upon your soil and teach those of your people who desire our service. But my friends, as we have said before, this would be a very good disservice to those who do not desire our service at this time. We are afraid we would have little effect in bringing understanding even to those who desire it. For understanding, my friends, comes from within. Ooh, now that's interesting. That's an interesting concept. So understanding from without, if this is true, would be false, right? If you're not taking yourself as part of the equation, then it would be false. It would be a false conclusion to come to logically. It's the only way that makes sense. We can only guide. We can only suggest. We are attempting to do this in such a way that the seeking of the individual will be stimulated to turning his thinking inward to the single point of love and understanding, the Creator, that is part of us all, part of everything that exists. For everything that exists, my friends, is the Creator. That's an interesting thought as well. We are very privileged to have you with us in this great service at this time of history in your planet. For this is a very great time, a great transitional period in which many of Earth's people will be raised from the state of confusion to a simple understanding, the love of their Creator. And this took place in the 60s, if I remember. This particular thing took place in the 60s. Oh, I'm not even on here, am I? Hold on a second. I'm not even in the corner where I'm supposed to be. Yep, I'm not even in the corner. See? Now. Okay. Move this up. See? I was... Where was I the whole time? I was right here. Okay. Continuing on. So Haton speaks to our desire to speak something outside of the physical illusion. What he talks about so persuasively is something that is often referred to by the members of what Ra calls the Confederation of Planets in the service of the infinite creator. as original thought. This is another term for our word, love, but implies a great deal more. It implies a unity that is so great that we do not see each other simply as close friends or brothers and sisters, but ideally as the Creator. And as we see each other and ourselves as the Creator, we see one being. This concept is at the very heart of telepathy, and Haton talks about this concept and the original thought in general. At this time, I am in a craft far above your dwelling place. I am at this time able to monitor your thoughts. This, my friends, might seem to some of you be an infringement, but I can assure you that it is not. Our capabilities of knowing and the thinking of the peoples of this planet Earth are not designed in any way to infringe upon either their thinking or their activities. I'm interested. Is anyone okay if a god exists and could read your thoughts? And as long as that god doesn't interfere in your life, but can read your thoughts, but knows what you're thinking, are you okay with that? Is that an okay thing? As compared to, let's say, the government. Let's say an entity or something that had a brain scanner and could scan what you were thinking at any one time, and of course would use that information in a way to craft your reality in a way to make you think in a certain way. Are you more okay with an all-knowing God who has the ability to change your reality, but not do so, but can see everything that you're thinking, but allows you to think what you want to think? Is that okay with you? Or is it okay if a government or a man-made entity can scan your thoughts and supposedly direct them for whatever the benefit of mankind would be, whatever they would say that would be? I'd be interested if anyone would consider that to be crossing a line, or is that too much, or something like that. But I think it's interesting. I honestly, if a god does exist and it can read my thoughts, then I suppose I'm okay with it, as long as that god would let me make my own mistakes and make my own choices. Where if you're giving those thoughts to a government, of course their whole mission, their whole creation is to direct. So in this way, if you're thinking about it like this, God is, letting you do you, where mankind wants you to do mankind. That's whatever that is, whatever that thought is, that's just interesting. I'm thinking out loud. We do not consider the knowledge of the thoughts of others to be an infringement, for we see these thoughts as our own. We see these thoughts as the thoughts of the Creator. Okay. My friends, it may seem to you that a thought of nature, other than one of love and brotherhood, might be a thought generated not of our Creator. This is not possible, my friends. All thought that is generated is generated by the Creator. All things that are generated by the Creator. He is all things and is all places, and all of the consciousness and all the thought that exists is the thought of our Creator. His infinite number of parts all have free will, and all may generate in any way they choose. All his parts communicate with all of the creation in his entire and infinite sense. We are not attempting to change the thinking of our Creator. We are only attempting to bring his ideas to some of the more isolated parts for their inspection and appraisal. Oh, okay. Interesting. Isolated parts, I say, my friends, and why should we consider these parts to be isolated? We consider them isolated because, from our point of view, they have chosen to wander far from the concept that we have found to permeate most of the parts of the creation with which we are familiar. We find, my friends, that man upon planet Earth in his experience and experiments has become isolated in his thinking and has divorced it from that to which we are accustomed in the vast reaches of creation which we have experienced. So that lends credence to the fact that planet Earth is a dimension of experimentation, where dimensions beyond what we cannot perceive all operate in a different way that is in service to the Creator. But this three-dimensional reality that we are all a part of is a place of self-discovery, a place of learning, and a place of understanding of concepts and things. And that's interesting. Of course. But, moving on. We find, my friends, that man upon planet Earth is experienced from whatever we experience. I urge you, my friends, to remember what we have brought to you. The next time that you are, shall we say, backed into a corner by the circumstances which prevail within the illusion of your physical existence, remember what you have learned, and do not forget what you have worked so hard to obtain. That's good. That is good. Those are great, great words. Great words right there. I don't care if they come from a human being or they come from a god, but those words are oh so important. You will choose at any time to alter your needs and desires from within the physical illusion to your being within the creation of the Father. As long as your objectives lie within the physical illusion, it will be necessary for you to subject to the laws which prevail within this illusion. If your desires can be altered by the application of what you are learning and lifted in the creation of the Infinite One, then, my friends, you may have a great deal more ability to remove yourself from the corners to which the illusion seems to back you. See, this is so prescient in my life because, I mean, I'll make a video on this at some point, but I've left my job and I just realized, I was just there and I just realized I was fighting an uphill battle against something that I don't know what I was, why the struggle? What's the point of the struggle? First of all, the system doesn't deserve the struggle that I would put forth. But second of all, what was I doing it for? For my sense of self? For fighting for what I think is right? For what I think needs to be solved or taken care of or cared for? No. Whatever is meant for me should be effortless. It should not have to work nearly as hard. This Western mentality of then this third dimensional reality is all about work and all of this. But I just decided I can't work for a system that no longer wants, this, and is so concerned with itself. It's so concerned with its own preservation. And only to some degree, but not all degrees. So, anyway. Going back. To some who may read these words, the concepts may seem a bit less than practical and certainly over-idealistic. Method of discovering or discussing what may be called the New Age of Aquarius certainly seems unlikely that an entire planet could go so wrong philosophically that the being supposedly more advanced than we would care enough about us to attempt to help us. Wait, it certainly seems unlikely the entire planet could go so wrong philosophically that the being supposedly more advanced than we would care enough about us to attempt to help us. Okay. However, as we look for the heart of the cosmic system of philosophy, we find much that is clear and simple without being simplistic in the least. Much that is ethical without being dogmatic. In short, much that is informative here. Here, Hatton speaks the nature of reality, which, in the main, seems to have escaped the notice of the Earthman. My friends, man on Earth has become very short-sighted in appreciation of creation. He does not understand the true meaning of the simple and beautiful life that surrounds him. He does not appreciate its generation and regeneration. He learns that the very atmosphere that he breathes is cycled through the plant life to be regenerated to support him and his fellow beings and creatures. Yet this seems to the vast majority of those who dwell upon this planet to be an exercise in technology rather than one in theology. There is no awareness of the Creator's plan to provide for his children, to provide for their every desire, and to provide for a state of perfection. Man on Earth has lost the awareness that is rightfully his. Awareness. Absolutely. Awareness is the most important thing. You getting locked into your day-to-day activities and just thinking, this is all I can do. I just have to I only have this one path. I can only go down this one path, is to lose awareness of every other option and possibility that surrounds you. And that is what the ego is, right? The ego loses awareness just by its existence, because to have awareness would have a threat to the ego, to have a threat to what you are as the person that you've defined yourself as. So awareness is ultra important. Awareness is very important. Now, of course, again, this is supposedly channeled from a being, but I don't see any reason to go against it as far as benefiting your own life. There's no logical reason. But awareness is good. I mean, in general, just awareness is a good thing. No one would say have less awareness. Having less awareness is a good thing. No one would say that, because that's provably wrong. Anyway, so man has lost his awareness. So man on earth has lost the awareness that is rightfully his. And why, my friends, has he lost this awareness? He has lost this because he has focused his attention upon devices and inventions of his own. Ooh. Anyway, that would be an example. He has become hypnotized by his playthings and his ideas. He is but a child in his mind. He is but a child. We are but children. All of this may be very simply remedied, and the man can once more return to an appreciation of reality rather than appreciation of the illusion created by his mind. All that is necessary, my friends, is that he individually avail himself to this appreciation of reality through the process of meditation. For this process still has active conscious mind, which is continually seeking stimulus within the illusion developed over so many centuries of time upon planet Earth. Interesting. Very rapidly, then, he can return to an appreciation of the reality in the functioning of the real creation. I'll read all that again. All this may very simply remedied, and man can once more return to appreciation of reality rather than appreciation of the illusion. All that is necessary is that he individually avail himself of the appreciation of reality through the process of meditation. For this process stills his active conscious mind, which is continually seeking stimulus within the illusion developed over centuries. It's so interesting, because that's exactly what the world is today. I mean, we've only developed more and more distractions of which to avail ourselves to get ourselves out of our own minds. Endless scrolling on devices, constant scrolling through social media, swiping left and right on dating apps, of which we think is actual real action, but is simply remedied by the process of meditation. I'd be interested to know if anyone actually is, if you've tried this or switched to this and if it works for you. Let me just listen to this real quick. All that is necessary, my friends, is the individual avail himself. Very rapidly, then, he can return to the appreciation of the reality and in the functioning of the real creation. This, my friends, is what man of earth must return to if he is to know reality. The simple thought of absolute love, a thought of total unity with all of his brothers, regardless of how they might express themselves or whom they might be, for this is the original thought of your Creator. Seems very Jesus-like. Seems very Buddhist-like. Seems very all-inclusive. Seems very welcoming. The creation of the Father, then, as Hatonn calls it, has a very simple nature, a nature in which love is the essence of all things and all their functions. Yet this real creation obviously is not uppermost in most of our minds, because we live in a day-to-day atmosphere to which the Confederation has referred quite often as an illusion. We of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator have been, for many of your years, aware of many principles of reality. We are aware of those principles because we have availed ourselves to them just as the people of your planet may do. It is possible through meditation to totally reduce the illusion that you now experience that creates the separation. An illusory separation to what it actually is, a total illusion. We have been continuing to speak to you about meditation. We have spoken to you many times about the reality and about love and about understanding, and yet you do not seem to be able to overcome the illusion. For the reason of the illusion, my friends, is one that man on earth has generated. He has generated it out of desire. This illusion is useful. It's very useful for those who would wish to evolve at a very rapid rate by experiencing it and by using it while within it. Many of us who are now circling your planet would desire to have the opportunity that you have. The opportunity to be within the illusion, and then, through the generation of understanding, my nose itching, sorry. Okay. See if that helps. Rapid rate experiencing it and within it. Many of those, let's see here, circling your planet would desire to have the opportunity that you have, the opportunity to be within the illusion, and then, through the generation of understanding, use the potentials of the illusion. This is a way of gaining progress spiritually and has been sought out by many of our brothers. I cannot overemphasize the necessity of becoming able to understand the nature of the potentials within your illusion, and then, by self-analysis and meditation, reacting to that in a way that will express the thought that generated us, the thought of our Creator. This was done by the teacher whom you know as Jesus. This man recognized his position, he recognized the illusion, he understood the reason for the potentials within the illusion, and his reaction to those potentials and activities within the illusion was a reaction which was expressing the thought of the Creator, a thought of love. Keep uppermost in your mind that the illusion that you experience is an illusion, that it is surrounding you for the purpose of teaching you. It can only teach you if you become aware of its teachings. It is said that he worked his wonders in mysterious ways. This way may seem mysterious, however, it is the way of the spiritual evolvement. There are many souls experiencing the illusion in which you find yourself. However, there are few using this illusion to grow. They are not doing this other than at subliminal level because they have not availed themselves through their seeking to a knowledge of the possibility of doing this. Once an individual has become aware of the possibility of using the illusion in which he finds himself in your physical world for the progression of spiritual growth, it is necessary that he take the next step and use his knowledge to express, regardless of the potentials which affect him, the love and understanding of his Creator. It is necessary. So once the individual has become aware of the possibility of using the illusion, it is necessary that he take the next step to use the knowledge to express, regardless of the potentials which affect him, the love and understanding of his Creator. So basically saying, once you understand that this is an illusion, you have a duty, essentially, to inform others that there are potentials that affect him and that the Creator should be expressed, is the best thing to express. Turn that up just a touch. As you have now become aware, meditation is always suggested as the best means of attaining understanding, of progressing spiritually, and of understanding the nature of illusion and the purpose for which you are experiencing it. Each person is involved in an illusion or game in which we may, if we wish, use our consciousness and meditation in such a way as to create a more rapid growth in personal evolution. But how do we bring ourselves to the point at which this process, which often seems very difficult, is grasped and begun? Desire, my friends, is the key to what you receive. If you desire it, you shall receive it. This was the Creator's plan, a plan which all his parts would receive exactly what they desire. My friends, often in the illusion which you now experience, it seems that you do not acquire what you desire. In fact, the opposite seems to be the case in many instances. It is paradox, it seems, that such a statement should be made, and that such apparent as results of desire are manifested. And yet, we state, without exception, that man receives exactly what he desires. Perhaps, my friends, you do not understand desire. Perhaps this understanding is not within the intellectual mind. Perhaps it will be necessary to spend time in meditation to become aware of your real desire. Interesting. So the desire that you wish, the true desire, becomes your reality, not the one that perhaps you don't focus enough on. Move this down just a little bit there. Okay, that's better. So, When he truly desires, perhaps, my friends, do not desire, perhaps the understanding, it will be necessary to spend time. Appreciate. There is much more of you and of the creation than you presently appreciate with your intellectual abilities and your present illusion. It is very difficult for the people of this planet to give up their illusion, to give up the preconceived knowledge of what they believe to be cause and effect. However, this is not reality. This is illusion, born of illusion. It is a simple product of complexity that man upon this planet has generated. Join with us in divorcing your thinking from such complexities. All right, I'm reading through this too fast because I'm not quite understanding, once again. Preconceived knowledge of what they believe to be the cause and effect. However, this is not reality. This is illusion, born of illusion. It is a simple product of the complexity that man upon this planet has generated. Join with us in divorcing your thinking from such complexities and become aware of what has created you, everything that you experience and everything that is thought. Become aware of your Creator. Become aware of His desire. And when you know this desire, you will know your own. For you and your Creator are one, and you are one with all of His parts. And, therefore, all of your fellow beings throughout all of the creation. When you know His desire, you will feel it. There will be no more confusion. There will be no more questions. You will have found what you have sought. You will have found love, for this is the desire of your Creator. That all of His parts express and experience the love that created you. This may be found simply in meditation. No amount of seeking within the intellectual concepts of your people, no amount of careful planning or careful interpretation of the written or spoken word will lead you to the simple truth. That's interesting. Basically, kind of a bit of surrender here. That's what I'm seeing. The Confederation messages can concentrate a great deal upon the concept of seeking of desire, feeling that the will of each entity is absolutely central to each entity's quest for evolution. In fact, they say, free will is at the foundation of the universe. Each entity is conceived not only as part of being one unity, but also part of being totally unique part of that unity. So each entity is conceived not only as being part of one unity, but also being totally unique part of that unity. So all for one for all kind of deal. Three Musketeers type of situation. Each person's free will is quite paramount to the Confederation's concern, as always to avoid infringement upon the free will of any person. Their method of contacting man on Earth takes its form from a deep concern for this free will. We do not wish to impose our understanding of truth upon your peoples, and this would be something that we would do if we contacted them directly. So they're saying that basically if we were to contact you guys, you would understand truth, and that would pretty much be us imposing our will upon you. So, we could not help it, for our very utterance of truth would be accepted by many of your peoples being valid. We do not wish to be thought of as the ultimate representative of the Creator's truth. We could not help it. Would be accepted by many of your people as being valid, right? Do not wish to be thought as the ultimate representative of the Creator's truth. We wish to be given this to your peoples in such a way that they may accept or reject this at their own will. This, as we understand it, is a necessary provision in the spiritual involvement of mankind, that he be at some state of his evolution in a position to accept or reject what is necessary for his evolution. In this way, and only in this way, can he know the truth of the Creator, the single truth that is the creation, the truth of the love of creation. Truth of the love of the creation. I was thinking about this yesterday, how important creation is. You know, creation is such an expressive and important part of being a human being, of being a person. Without creation, depression becomes your default mode. And the reason is because if we are all part of creation, which is right here, then we are all meant to create. We are all meant to continue to create, to further creation, not to destroy it. And understanding this principle, creation makes so much sense as why it alleviates a lot of what we consider to be depression, because you make something that goes out into the universe, and you don't have this idea of what it has to be or what it is or what it should be based on everyone else that's around you. You have your own expression of the creator, of creation, that is a part of all that is and all that ever will be. I think that's pretty amazing. It must be realized from within. It cannot be impressed from without. We are attempting to stimulate those of your peoples who would be stimulated to seeking this truth that is within them. We have been required by our understanding of our Creator's principle to remain in hiding, for we cannot serve one individual and at the same time do a disservice to his neighbor by proving within his own mind that we exist. For many of those of planet Earth at this time do not desire to believe in or have proof of our existence. For this reason, we find it necessary to speak to those who seek through channels such as this one. We find it necessary to give to those who seek that they may that which they seek in such a way that they for themselves may appraise its value and accept or reject, or on their own terms, those thoughts that we bring and understand the reality of the creation of all that exists. Hold on a second, let me just minimize this. You guys are distracting me. Earth at this time desire to believe in or have proof of its existence. For this reason, we find it necessary to speak to those who have to seek through channels such as this one. We find it necessary to give to those who seek that which they seek in such a way that they for themselves may appraise its value and accept or reject on their own terms those thoughts that we bring, and understand the reality of the creation in which all of us exist. So free will, being important to the human being, makes sense. To accept or reject truths as they are. That only makes sense to me, because how good would the truth be if everyone just had it immediately? It wouldn't be very good. There would be the reality that we're in would have literally no point. This third dimensional space would have no point, because we would all know the best way of things to be done, and we wouldn't have this. There's a struggle, and we all, kind of chose to be here for this struggle, for what we consider to be our lives, what we consider to be ourselves, our beings, and it's just interesting. It's very interesting. Once the desire to receive this message has been developed, the messages are indeed available, not just from the group, but from the so-called many contactee or channeling groups around the world. Indeed, you will find little new in the cosmic system of philosophy. Those concepts are basic, profound, and simple. The truth is that. Basic, profound, and simple. Truths, basic, profound, simple. I agree. If truth is complicated, more than likely, it's not truth. The universe it doesn't make sense. If it's so, it should be so evident and so easily observable to all of us. The truth should be so simple that there's no reason why we don't grab onto it, and the reason we don't is probably because we're overthinking it. That makes sense to me. Because Overthinking is a product of the third dimensional reality of where we are, and these concepts, which are basic, profound, and simple, as they say, should be apparent to everyone, regardless of intelligence, status, wealth. All should be basic, profound, and simple. Just as most laws are. And the more, as Tacitus said, the more laws that exist, the more corrupt a nation. Which kind of plays into truth, because the more complex a truth, the less truth I think that there is in it. Think about it. What truths are there that exist that are entirely complex? I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. What's a very complex truth that we just can't comprehend? Economics should be simple. It's the simple exchange of energy from one person to another in order to live. However, macroeconomics, which is a bunch of BS, is convoluted in such a way to make economics, the truth of energy exchange, appear unreachable to those of us who would like to be a part of this energy exchange. And the only reason they're doing that is because of deceit. The only reason the government is so large is because of deceit, because they are getting further and further away from the truth. The truth would be simple. The truth would be easy. That makes sense to me. You know? That's what I think. Anyway, the Confederation has a name for one of these great goals of the system of meditation and study: understanding. Many of you peoples at this time seeking outside their illusion to those who seek. We offer our understanding. We do not attempt to say that we have ultimate wisdom. We only suggest that which we have to offer may be of value. For we have found in our experience, as we have passed through the same experience of those on earth, that there is the most beneficial direction in seeking to serve. We are acting through instruments such as those here tonight to give to those who seek an understanding. Our presence is meant to stimulate seeking. Through this process, we hope to contact as many of the peoples of your planet as would desire our contact. The process of meditation. We hope in the very near future to be able to contact many more of the peoples of your planet, the peoples who would desire understanding. It is necessary to contact those peoples of your planet because of this, shall I say, mixture of types. But it is well worth our effort if we are able to contact but one. We will continue to act as we do now. Sorry, my nose is so itchy right now. Oh, jeez. Continue to act as we do now, speaking through instruments such as this one until a sufficient number of the peoples of your planet have become aware of the truth. We are constantly striving to bring through many channels of communication the simple message to the people of Earth, the simple message that will leave them with a simple understanding of all there is, and that is love. Simple understanding of all there is, and that is love. But understanding that understanding, which shows us the love of an infinite creator, is again and again described as being possible far more easily through the process of meditation than by any other method. So this is all very important because it is something that we're severely lacking in our society today. Because of these. We seek the answers in these. Stop seeking the answers in these. Just like that Apple ad. The process of understanding comes from this. No. The process of understanding comes from yourself. And that's why when they crushed those instruments in that ad, when they crushed all those things in that ad, that is a gateway. All those things are a gateway to self-discovery, to self-discipline, to self-understanding of what makes you, you. But when you utilize this, and you say this is the most powerful piece of technology, the most powerful thing in the universe, and it's the thinnest thing in the universe, then you're reducing the human experience to seeking something not within your own understanding, but or it's something that you could just grab from a store. And we're more than that. We're more than just consuming something to become something. We're self-discipline, we're effort, we're work, we're ourselves. We are humans who have desires and wants, not simple consumers. Citizens of the earth who want to desire to make it better, not make it worse. Who want to create. Creation, not destruction. Sorry, I'm off on a tangent once again. But understand the understanding, which shows us the love of infinite creator. Again, describe meditation most better than any other method. There are pieces of information that are of importance. There are pieces of information that are not. Wisdom is a rather lonely matter, my friends. You must accept this truth as you acquire the burden of wisdom. Wisdom is a lonely... That is true. Those who possess wisdom do not necessarily live in congruence with those who do not accept wisdom. I.e., the hermit who lives in the cave. The parents do not live on the same level as the child. The grandparents do not live on the same level as their children. Wisdom is a lonely path and is only acquired through experience. So, that's true. That which you know, you are to be careful of, for what you know in the real creation has power, and that which you desire is all the direction which that power is aimed at. But have faith, my friends, in what you know and what you are learning. Feed your faith and your understanding through meditation. The further that you go along this path, my friends, the more meaningful you will find this simple statement. Meditate. It begins as a simple process, and little by little, it becomes a way in which you live. Observe it as you progress along your own spiritual path. This is such an important thing, I think. This is such an important thing because, I mean, I can say I've made a considerable difference in my life. Since about 3 weeks ago, I started not waking up immediately and looking at my phone, but getting up and just closing my eyes and just thinking about the day ahead. Just thinking about life and the universe and my direction and where I'm going and all of those things. And I can say I've gotten a lot more understanding from that process alone than anything I've ever found waking up and looking at this in the morning. You can do this, you can look at this later, but for the love of all things, don't do this first in your life. Wake up and smell the roses, so to speak. Wake up and observe yourself. Observe your surroundings. Observe where you are. Don't just thirst for a distraction. Seeking self-understanding has dramatically improved my life. And of course, since I've started doing it, I've felt more and more drawn to this. I've felt more and more drawn to put this out to the universe, to all that exists, to people. Because this is important. This is important. I wake up and I'm like, even when I'm looking at my phone, I'm like, you know, I should be doing this. It's so funny. Because this speaks to me. This speaks to me in such a way I don't have words to read all these things to you. To make this small space, this corner of the internet that is my own, and to share it with you. And I'm privileged and I'm happy and I'm gracious that all of you who are seeing these words, even if for a brief moment, can do that. And I just want to say thank you for all of you. But continuing on. So meditate. It's important. It's an important thing. I mean, you don't have to, obviously, as this thing says. You don't have to. It's totally up to you. But, I mean, I think my results have told me they speak for themselves. So, it is frequently suggested in the contactee messages that the state of the mind of the seeker has the opportunity of being continuously in a far more pleasant configuration than is the mind of one who is not actively engaged in pursuing a path of self-knowledge and seeking. However, there are other fruits of the path of meditation and seeking which are predictable and which engage the attention of those who channel these messages. It is to be remembered, my friends, that the service of others is service to oneself. Interesting. Notice that we do not say that service is like unto service to oneself. There is no similarity between others and ourselves. There is no similarity between others and ourselves. There is identity. There is completion and unity. Therefore, that which is felt of a negative nature toward a sheep of the flock is felt towards oneself, and it is felt toward the Creator. This enters the service which you attempt to give to yourself and to the Creator through service to another, and causes a blot or stain upon the perfect service you would have performed. There is completion and unity. Therefore, I'm going to read that again. This enters the service which you attempt to give yourself and to the Creator through the service of another. I haven't comprehended this paragraph. It is to be remembered, my friends, that the service of others is service to oneself. Notice that we do not say that service is like unto service to oneself. There is no similarity between others and ourselves. There is identity. There is completion and unity. Therefore, that which is felt of a negative nature toward a sheep of the flock is felt towards one's self, and is felt toward the Creator. This enters the service which you attempt to give yourself and to the Creator through the service of another, and causes a blot or stain upon the perfect service you would have performed. It must be remembered that each person is a completely free entity whose independence must not be... I'm not sure I understood that. Did you guys... Did you guys understand that? Because I'm not sure I comprehended it myself. But I think is what it's saying is trying to serve yourself would put a stain, even if it's to serve others, is a blot or stain upon the perfect service you would have performed. I don't know, I have to... This one... There's a lot of service and service to self and unity and where is the separation and all of that in this paragraph. So I have not comprehended that one, but I'll have to come back to that because I don't think I get that. But I think I understand that trying to serve yourself is not in service of others. I think that's what it's going for. There is only one thing of great importance for you to consider at this time. That is your personal preparation for service. You are to serve your fellow man, and therefore it is necessary that you prepare yourselves for this service. This, of course, my friends, is done in meditation. We cannot overemphasize the importance of meditation. Therefore, this technique, you will receive answers to all your questions. It is difficult to realize this, but this is true. All of your questions can be reduced to an extremely simple concept. This you can become aware of in meditation. Once this has been done, you will be ready to serve, just as others have served and are now serving upon your planet. Follow their example, spend time meditation, qualify yourself to reach out to your fellow man and lead him from the darkness of confusion that he's experiencing back into the light that he desires. Whew! That is impressive. That's a tall order. That is a tall order right there. But not impossible. One service which the Confederation's sources greatly appreciate is that provided by the vocal channels, which are trained in groups such as the one we have in Louisville in since 1962, suggest unique salvation only gained by listening to the message. However, they are aware that there are many who seek the message through sources other than Orthodox religion. They can never suggest... However, they are aware that there are many who seek this message through sources other than Orthodox religion and classical philosophy. Consequently, they are here to provide a service of making information available and could only perform their service through vocal channels. There are more people upon this planet seeking than there have been in the past. However, many are quite confused in their attempts to seek And there is a need at this time for many more channels, such as this one, who can receive directly the thoughts that so many of the people of this planet are seeking. We are attempting at this time to generate greater numbers of proficient vocal channels to receive our thoughts quite readily. This requires daily meditation. This is all that is required. Daily meditation is assumed, of course, that as this daily meditation is performed, there is a desire for our contact. So meditation puts you in communion with Ra, I suppose. Who's over here? Ra. Or with six-dimensional beings, or with beings that are beyond our understanding. Which makes sense, because I've never communicated with a being here on the third dimension that has given me as much positive benefit as I've given myself in these past couple of weeks of coming to this realization that I'm going down the wrong path of this job. I am trying to work through the ego. I was in the wrong relationship. All of that just materialized when I started to survival is not it. Is not it. It's not the only thing. Anyway, as one who participated in the meditation group for many years, I suggest the individual meditations, not including the attempt to contact the Confederation sources, it's best to pursue this attempt only in a group situation. Preferably a group which contains at least one experienced receiver. Tuning. Okay, so they're saying this is best attempted in a group if you want to contact the people that they are mentioning here. Reincarnation is very basic to the Confederation message. One of the most highly regarded fruits of meditation in the seeking process is the ability of the seeker to penetrate what Ra calls the forgetting process, which occurs at the time of our birth into this incarnation so that we might become aware of the lessons which we have to learn during this incarnation. I definitely believe in this. Absolutely believe in this. These lessons are always along the lines of how to love better, more fully, more deeply, or with more kindness and understanding. However, each entity has a unique lessons. At the time of which each of you is incarnated, my friends, each of you was aware that the certain lessons hitherto unlearned were to be the goals for achievement in this incarnation. If it seems to you that your entire incarnation within the illusion has been a series of difficulties of one particular type, then you are almost certainly aware in some manner of one of your lessons. That's so good. That's great. So yeah, if you find yourself repeating the same things over and over again in your life, perhaps it's time to be like, wait a second. There's a lesson here I probably should be learning. There's a something here that I just haven't grasped quite yet. Most people won't do that. They'll do the Seymour, like, am I the one who's wrong? No, it must be the children. No, it must be the world. Oh, is that Simpsons meme? Where is that? I want to pull that up. I want to see that. Simpsons Seymour meme. Yes, this one's Skinner. Yes. Simpsons Skinner meme. There it is. This one right here. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Am I the one who's wrong? No, it must be the children. The same kind of mentality right here. Perfect. All right. Going back. Further, we must point out to you that when a confrontation, as you can see, as you can see, these lessons are not to be avoided. They are to be learned. Further, we must point out to you that when a confrontation in such a lesson has been achieved, that which separates you from understanding is most often your own thinking. Your conscious thinking processes are quite capable of being self-destructive in the sense that they may aid you to avoid the lesson that you wish to, in reality, to learn. Therefore, as you approach a lesson, we suggest that if it is possible to achieve a temporary abeyance of the conscious analytical process, then you may return to the problem with a much clearer mentality. I'm going to assume abeyance is an avoidance. But the state of temporary disuse or suspension. the position of being without, or of waiting for an owner or claimant. Abeyance. Okay. State of temporary disuse or suspension. Matters were held in abeyance pending further inquiries. So, disuse or suspension. So, okay. So without the use of conscious analytical process, then you may return to the problem with a much clearer mentality, ready to learn what you came to this experience to learn, rather than only to avoid what you came to learn. So with analytics, you avoid learning the lesson, but with the self-reflection, you can learn the lesson. I think that's the summary that I'm coming up with there. We know how difficult it is to achieve the meditative state at all times, for we have been where you are, and we are aware of the particular type of illusion that you call physical. We urge you, therefore, to depend upon meditation of a formal kind, then to attempt a semi-meditative state at all times, and by this, we mean simply to achieve a state of attention so that your destructive impulses are not free to clog your mind completely and keep you from learning the lessons you came here to learn. So destructive impulses like, let's say, scrolling infinitely to avoid contact with other human beings, to looking at sexually suggestive images on the internet and satisfying yourself, to many other things, I'm sure, to working too hard, to all these things that are just leading to destructiveness. Undergirding all these lessons that we have come to learn, we have to learn about love, is the basic concept that all these things are one. Meditate upon the complete unity of yourself and all that you see. Do this not once and not simply in present circumstances, but at all times. What is this? And especially in the difficult circumstances. This is awareness. This is awareness. So not once, but in the presence of all circumstances. So that's being aware of all possibilities that exist within the current given moment that you happen to find yourself in. Not going through this autonomous mode of, I have to do this in this way because this is who I am. Looking at all the possibilities that are given and available. For insofar as you love and feel at one of those things which are difficult to you, to the extent which will these circumstances be alleviated. This is not due to any laws within our physical illusion, but it is due to the law of love, for the body, which is of spirit, which is interpenetrated. Okay. But is due to the law of love, for the body which is that of spirit, which is interpenetrated with the physical body, is higher than your physical body, and those changes which you make by love upon your spiritual body will, of necessity, reflect themselves within the physical illusion. All is one, my friends. My voice is now the voice of this instrument. My thoughts are her thoughts. Please believe that the vibration we offer to you is not the vibration of personality, but is a vibration of the Creator. We are also channels. There's only one voice within this vibration. We are self-consciously aware that this voice is the voice of the Creator. It's simply a matter of lifting vibrations which are not so self-aware of the Creator. All things will eventually come into harmony in relation to your understanding. Even if the universe for those around you remains disharmonious and difficult, if your mind is stayed upon the unity of the Creator, your own universe will become harmonious. And this is not by your doing, but by the simple love of the Creator. That is beautiful. I'm not sure if, I like the idea. I think, it does seem that it would be true. If you create your own reality, you can create your own hell and you create your own heaven. If you believe in programming, if you believe in you can program yourself to do things in a certain way, then certainly, why not? Why wouldn't you? From many sources, we have heard that we are in the last days of a particular era of evolution. Popular writers of the Christian faith have taken these writings of the Book of Revelations, analyzed them in such a way that is suggested that the days of Armageddon are near at hand. Scientists have written books of exploring the possibility that unusual planetary configurations such as the Jupiter effect will occur now in the year 2000 thus enlarging the possibility of Earth changes. Other scientists have examined possible evidence indicating the polar shift by the year 2000 is probable. Well, the polar shift is coming, but that's going to be probably the mid-2000s to 2030s and 2040s, which that's going to be, I think that's going to be, it's going to be an interesting time to be alive, because the universe and the sun and the electromagnetism that is exerted upon us is going to become so, it just will be impossible to ignore that there's an interconnectedness between us and the planets and all that exists. We've tried so long to say we are all that all needs to exist and we are all that we need to care about, but when you have such a large body acting upon you, you start to be like, wait a second, if other things can act upon us in such a way that could flip the poles or change how we behave on this earth, then perhaps we're not the only things that matter in this world. Prophets such as Edgar Cayce, channel information, we gather information of our meetings and subject of earth changes. There is a season upon your planet which shall be highly traumatic within your physical illusion. Okay, hold on a second. Oh my goodness. My nose is really itching right now. I don't know why. The physical reasons for this are varied. Your scientists will spend a great deal of time while they can in attempting to catalog and describe each of the conditions which will produce disaster on this physical plane of your planet. That which your scientists speak of is quite so, and will be part of the program which has been predicted by all those holy works which you have upon the face of the earth. I'd absolutely recommend, if you haven't looked into it already, look into Suspicious Observers. Talks about the pole shift, all the stuff that's coming. And don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Strengthen your physical field. Do the best that you can, and accept and love and be of service. That's all we can do, you know. It is not either permissible or possible for us to tell you precisely what events will occur or when they will occur, due to the fact that this vibration within the mind and heart of the people upon your planet is determining. Yes. That does kind of make sense. There is within the planet Earth a great deal of karma which must be adjusted as the cycle changes, and these things will manifest. Precisely when and how we cannot say, nor would we wish to, my friends, for the rain and the wind and fire will destroy only those things which are in what you call the third density of vibration. Exactly. Exactly right. If you believe, there's a lot in belief. There is a lot in survival that comes with belief. And if you don't believe, well, guess what? Kaput. You leave this physical reality. You are no longer a part. It no longer has any effect upon you. So keep that in mind, right? Of course. But, you know, it's just, it's important to know. You may value those things which, because you cannot imagine your fourth density existence will be like, we suggest to you spend no time concerning yourself with the effort of maintaining your third density existence after vibration change and the fourth density has been completed. If within your spirit your graduation day has come, those things necessary for your emergence into fourth density will be done for you. All will have be accomplished by helpers, which you must be aware that you have. It is extremely possible damage will occur to those things which you identify with yourself in the third density. If we may speak plainly, you will observe the valley of the shadow of death. These very words, my friends, have been spoken to you before, and yet you cling to that physical body and the physical surroundings as though your spirit were attached quite permanently to them. May we suggest to you that you can find your spirit neither in your head, nor in your hands, nor in your chest, nor in your legs, nor in your feet. That nowhere can you find your spirit, nowhere can you operate to remove it, nor to aid it. Your spirit resides within a shell. The shell may be removed, But that is no matter. The spirit does not perish. What is the metaphysical meaning of this suggested physical trauma of our planet? The Confederation suggests that the planet itself is moving into a new vibration, a new portion of space and time, which many have called the New Age, but into which we shall not be able to enter unless we have indeed learned the lessons of love, which it has been our choice to learn or not learn for many incarnations. The Confederation suggests that it is very important to choose to follow the positive path or not follow it. There is a choice to be made very shortly, and it would be preferable if all the people of this planet understand the choice that is to be made. It will be difficult for many of the people of this planet to understand what this choice is, because it is a choice that they have not considered. They have been much too involved in their daily activities and their confusion and their desires of a very trivial nature to be concerned with an understanding of the choice that they are very shortly to make. Whether they wish to or not, whether they understand it or not, regardless of any influence, each and every one of these people who dwell upon planet Earth will shortly make a choice. There will be no middle area. There will be those who choose to follow the path of love and light, and those who choose otherwise. That is true. This choice will not be made by saying, I choose the path of love and light, or I do not choose it. The verbal choice will mean nothing. The choice will be measured by an individual's demonstration of his choice. This demonstration will be very easy for us of the Confederation of Planets in his service to interpret. This choice is measured by what we term the vibratory rate of the individual. It is necessary if an individual is to join those who make the choice of love and understanding, for his rate of vibration and to be above a certain minimal level. There are many now that are close to this minimum level, but due to continuing conditions of erroneous thought that prevail upon your surface, they are either fluctuating around this point, or are even in some cases drifting away from the path of love and understanding. There are many of those whose vibratory rate at this time is sufficiently high for them to travel with no difficulty into the density of vibration that this planet is shortly to experience. At some time in the future, then, something that the Confederation has called the harvest will take place. The concept of the Judgment Day differs from the ecclesiastic. I can't. With the words, I think that means biblical one. Oh, goodness. Am I getting sick? I hope not. Relating to ecclesiology, relating to the end of the world. Okay, so end of the world. That's what that relates to. One who judges us is not a part of God, a God apart from us, but with a God within us. As a result of this harvest, some will go on to the new age of light and love and learn new lessons, a very positive and beautiful density, as the Confederation calls it. Others will have to repeat this particular grade of lessons and learn the lessons of love. Here, the Confederation entity Haton speaks once again of the harvest and the end of the Confederation's purpose in speaking through the contactee group. There is going to be a harvest, as you might call it. A harvest of souls will certainly occur upon your planet. We are attempting to extract the greatest possible harvest. This is our mission, for we are the harvesters. In order to be most efficient, we are attempting to create first a state of seeking among the people of this planet who desire to seek. This would be those who are close to the acceptable level of vibration. Those above this level are, of course, not of as great an interest to us, since they have, you might say, already made the grade. Those far below this level, unfortunately, cannot be helped by us at this time. We are attempting, at this time, to increase by a relatively small percentage the number who will be harvested into a path of love and understanding. Even a small percentage of those who dwell upon your planet is a vast number. And this is our mission, to act through groups such as this one in order to disseminate information in such a fashion that it may be accepted or rejected, that it may be in a state of lacking what the people of your planet choose to call proof. We offer them no concrete proof as they have a way of expressing. We offer them truth. This is an important function of our mission, to offer truth without proof. In this way, the motivation will, in each and every case, come from within the individual. In this way, the individual vibratory rate will be increased. An offering of proof, or of an impressing this truth upon the individual in such a way that he would be forced to accept it, would have no usable effect upon his vibratory rate. This, then, my friends, is the mystery of our way of approaching your peoples. Another concept that has come out of the many communications from alleged UFO entities is that of wanderers. They are usually service-oriented people, and as would be predictable, they often have a great deal of difficulty fitting into the planetary vibrations of Earth. Often, they have the feeling that they do not fit in or do not belong at the same time. Very often, these people are possessed of many gifts in the arts of teaching or the simple sharing of a cheerful and happy vibration, which certainly does not suggest the normal attitude of a simple malcontent. This content is particularly interesting to many people who are drawn to the raw material because, according to the material, much of it will be easily recognized as being useful by wanderers. The wanderers. They are not just a few wanderers on Earth today. Ross suggests a figure of approximately 65 million. They have left other densities and harmonious environments to take on the kind of job that is the most difficult and dangerous. For if a wanderer cannot at least begin to pierce the forgetting process that occurs at birth into this density during his or her lifetime on planet Earth and remember the love and light that the person was intended to share, the wanderer can conceivably become caught in the third density illusion, collecting what may be loosely be termed as karma, and be delayed in arriving again at the home planet until all that is imbalanced in the third density in this lifetime has been balanced. When Don Elkins and I wrote The Secrets of UFOs in 1976, we devoted a chapter to the concept of wanderers and used material gained in the hypnotic regression of 3 women who are our friends this lifetime. Hold on a second. I realized I could have just ended that. Turned that off, but did not. So you just heard me doing that. That's great. Let's see. One more time. Let me mute this for a second. Turn this back on. Okay. Hopefully that helps. A little bit. Where are we at now? Okay. Well, let's go to lo-fi, I guess. Oh, wait. No, this is just the beginning of that same playlist. We'll try that. Sure. Yeah. We'll try... Wait. Jazz hop. This actually... Let's go with that. I like that. Okay. Oh. We might only do the introduction today, I guess. These are only the parts that I was looking into. Okay, so Wanderer, seemingly caught in the third density illusion, collecting whatever may be termed as karma. When separately regressed, let me turn this down just a little bit. There we go. Of 3 women and friends in lifetime, and who, when separately regressed, gave independent, dovetailing stories about their lives on another planet. After that book went to press, we were able to work with a man whom the woman had named as being part of that experience on another planet. This man, who was then a student working towards his master's degree in chemical engineering, was aware of no detail of our research except that we were involved in doing some hypnosis. On May 10th, 1975, accomplished hypnotist with whom he had worked, often when he lived in Louisville, sat down with our 4th volunteer and proceeded to explore that other world for a 4th time. This information was especially interesting since all 3 previous regressions had been poetic and beautiful, but scarcely technical. Our fourth subject had a far different background and was able to see things in a far more accurate, explicit manner. This fourth regression fitted perfectly into the story told by one of the first subjects. One of the first things done was about clothing. How are you dressed? In white. White what? Loose white clothes. Okay, what about the waist now? Above the pants? Well, it's just like a robe. It's not really a robe, but loose clothing with a sash, like for a belt. Well, what about the shoulders? Well, it's just short sleeve and it's warm. This type of robe suggests a monastic or religious order, and questions were asked to attempt to discover some orthodox religion connections on this planet. No connection was found. The questioners moved on to the name of this other world, since the surroundings were not of those of Earth, but the young man, normally incisive in his answers, seemed totally unaware of the concept of naming. The name of your planet? It's just, we live there, and I don't see any mountains, but I see the name. I have a child. One child? Yeah, little boy. His name is... I just don't have a feeling for names. I have, like, when you want somebody and they know when you want them, sort of. I mean, I just don't have a feeling for names. Not only did their planet seem to lack a proper name, but speech itself seemed to be a far different process. Okay, well, this could just be someone not being able to make something up that sounds convincing, but I'll take that with a grain of salt. Not only did their planet seem to lack a proper name, but speech itself seemed to be a far different process, one of which you might call telepathy. Alright, if someone calls to you, what do they call you? I just haven't heard anybody speak. I don't know if you have to speak. Seems like a kind of simple life, but there's obviously, there was light at my books, so it's obviously mechanized, or perhaps much more than that even. I don't recall people speaking to each other, though. I mean, they seem to... everybody knows each question, and you know what's going on, but I don't really see. It was singing. There was singing, but there wasn't actually people conversing with each other. You just sort of knew, I guess. I'm sitting on a stone or a bench, and they'd be sitting down, and I'm explaining, but I don't see myself talking to them. The subject, with his engineer's eye, was able to put together the architecture of the plane in the way the women had not. All four agreed that the center of the community and its purpose was something that may be conveniently be called the temple. I think it's a stone. I guess limestone, but it's whiter, I guess? That's what it's made of. What about the perimeter? Well, there's some from supporters, from the sides, are arches up to the ceiling, but it's not a regular dome. It's, I haven't seen that kind of dome before. Take a good guess. How far across is that dome? Oh, goodness. It looks like it's 200 feet long. Okay. All right. Lighted. All right. This is just a question and answer session. Music. Praise to whom? Well, to God. Okay. All right. Interesting. Nobody has individual homes? Well, no. Big place is home. This is home. All right. Okay. So, we're still in the introduction. Advanced techniques. Okay. All right. We are still in the introduction here. I mean, I could look at all this, but I just want to get to photographs. Okay, we got photographs that we'll see later. If pictures to be taken in a working visual image, needs to be that, which is photograph only working visual. Secondly, advisable to photograph an instrument of any portion of working room while the instrument is in trance. The instrument is aware. We ask that photographs tell the truth and to be dated and shine clarity, come as humble messengers. The law of one desiring to decrease distortion. We ask that you work with any consideration such as the above mentioned. Firstly, if pictures be taken of a working visual image, must need, that is, it is well for you to photograph only an actual working and no sham or substitution of any material. There shall be no distortion, which this group can avoid any more than we would wish distortions in our words. Secondly, it is inadvisable to photograph the instrument of or any portion of the working room while the instrument is in trance. So the narrow band of contact, we wish to keep electrical and electromagnetic energies constant when their presence is necessary. Present is necessary and not present at all otherwise. Thirdly, once the instrument is aware of the picture taken, whether before or after the working instrument shall be required to continuously respond to speech, thus assuring that no trance is imminent. We come as humble messengers and offer that which is the pretense of any kind. Place at the entity's head a virgin chalice of water, placed to the center of the book. Instruments meant distortions. which are allied most closely with the law of one, that being the Bible, that she touches most frequently to the other side of the Bible, a small amount of sense, for instance, a virgin censer. In the rear, the book symbolizing one, open to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, place a white candle. Okay. Session 69. Instrument would be the wearing of a white robe. Okay, so we have all these photographs. Okay. Exterior of the raw room. Carla. Okay, so finally we've made it to session 1. That was quite a bit of an introduction there. 70 pages of introduction. Okay. So, let's get into it. The Law of One, Book 1, Session 1. Ra. I am Ra. I have not spoken to this instrument before. We had to wait until she was precisely tuned. As we send a narrow band vibration, we greet you in love in the light of our infinite creator. We have watched your group. We have been called to your group, for you have a need for the diversity of experience and channeling which go with a more intensive, as you might call it, advanced approach of the system of studying the pattern of the illusions of your body, your mind, and your spirit, which you call seeking the truth. We hope to offer you a somewhat different slant upon the information, which is always and ever the same. At this time, we would be glad to attempt to speak to any subject or question which those entities in the room may have potential use in the question. Do you have a specific purpose? And if so, could you tell us something of what your purpose is? I am Ra. We communicate now. We are those who are the law of one. In our vibration, the polarities are harmonized, the complexities are simplified, the paradoxes have a solution. We are one. That is our nature and our purpose. We are old upon your planet. We have served with varying degrees of success in transmuting the law of one, of unity and singleness to your peoples. We have walked to your planet, and we have seen the faces of your peoples. However, we now feel the great responsibility of staying in the capacity of removing all the distortions and powers that have been given in the law of one. We continue in this until, shall we say, your cycle is appropriately ended. If not this one, then the next. We are not a part of time, and thus are able to be with you in any of your times. Does this give you enough information from which to extract our purpose, my brother? Yes, thank you. I am Ra. We appreciate your vibrations. Is there another query? I've heard of the name Ra in connection with the Egyptians. Are you connected with Ra in any way? I am Ra. Yes, the connection is congruency. May we elucidate? What do you not understand? Could you give me a little more detail about your role with the Egyptians? I am Ra. The identity of the vibration Ra is our identity. We as a group, or what you would call a social memory complex, made contact with a race of your planetary kind, which you call Egyptians. Others from our density made contact at the same time in South America, and so-called lost cities, were their attempts to contribute to the law of one. We spoke to one who heard and understood and was in a position to decree the law of one. However, the priests and peoples of that era quickly distorted our message, robbing it of the, shall we say, compassion with which unity is informed by its very nature. Since it contains all, it cannot abhor any. We were no longer to have an appropriate channels through which to enunciate the law of one. We removed ourselves from the now hypocritical position which we had allowed ourselves to be placed in. Other myths, shall we say, having more to do with the polarity in the things of your vibration that are complex, again took over a particular society in complex. Hold on. Turn this light on. Does this form a sufficient amount of information, or could we speak further? Is there another query? The question was lost because the questioner was sitting too far from the tape recorder to be recorded. I am Ra. Consider, if you will, that the universe is infinite. This has yet to be proven or disproven. Yet, we can assure you that there is no end to yourselves. Be understanding, well, that's interesting. Why was it okay up here and now not okay here? But, okay. So, considering your universe is infinite, this is yet to be proven or disproven. We can assure you that there is no end to yourselves, your understanding, what you would call your journey or seeking, or perceptions of your creation. That which is infinite cannot be many, for manyness is a finite concept. For to have infinity, You must identify or define the infinity as unity. Otherwise, the term does not have any referent or meaning. In an infinite creator, there is only unity. We have seen simple examples of unity. You have seen the prism which shows all colors stemming from the sunlight. This is a simplistic example of unity. In truth, there is no right or wrong. There is no polarity, for all will be, as you would say, reconciled at some point in your dance to the mind-body-spirit complex, which you amuse yourself by distorting in various ways at this time. This distortion is not in any case necessary. It is chosen by each of you as an alternative to understanding the complete unity of thought which binds all things. Interesting. You are not speaking of similar or somewhat like entities or things. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are love. Light, love. You are. This is the law of one. May we enunciate in more detail? No. I am Ra. Is there another query? Can you comment on the coming planetary changes in our physical reality? I am Ra. I preferred to wait till this instrument had once again reached a proper state of depth, singleness, or one-pointedness before we spoke. The changes are very, very trivial. We do not concern ourselves with the conditions which bring about harvest. If an individual makes its efforts to act as a catalyst in general, to increase the awareness of planetary consciousness, is he of any aid in that direction, or is he doing nothing but acting upon himself? I am Ra. We shall answer your question in two parts, both of which are important equally. Firstly, you must understand that the distinction between yourself and others is not visible to us. We do not consider that a separation exists between the conscious raising efforts of the distortion which you project as personality and the distortion that you project as another personality. Thus, to learn is the same as to teach, unless you are not teaching what you are learning. Thus, to learn is the same as to teach, unless you are not teaching what you are learning, in which case you have done them little good. This understanding should be pondered by your spirit, mind-body-spirit complex, as the distortion on which plays a part in your experiences and your nexus. To turn to the second part of our response, may we state our understanding, limited though it is. Group individuated consciousness is that state of sharing understanding with the other distortions of mind-body-spirit complexes, which are within the evident reach of the mind-body-spirit complex, individual or group. Thus, we are speaking to you and accepting both our distortions and your own in order to enunciate the laws of creation, more especially the law of one. We are not available to many of your peoples, for this is not an easily understood way of communication or type of philosophy. However, our very being is hopefully a poignant example of both the necessity and near hopelessness of attempting to teach. Each of those in this group is striving to use, digest, diversify information which you are sending into the instrument into the channels of the mind-body-spirit complex without distortion. The few whom you will illuminate by sharing your light are far more than enough reason for the greatest possible effort. To serve one is to serve all. Therefore, we offer the question back to you to state that indeed it is the only activity worth doing, to learn, teach, learn. There is nothing else which is of aid in demonstrating the original thought except your very being, and the distortions that come from the unexplained, inarticulate, or mystery-clad beings are many. Thus, to attempt to discern and weave your way through as many groups, mind, body, spirit distortions as possible among your peoples in the course of your teaching is a very good effort to make. We could speak no more valiantly of your desire to serve. May we speak in any other capacity upon this subject? Will you be available for communication? Can we call on you in the future? I am Ra. We have the good contact with this instrument because of her recent experience with trance. She is able to communicate our thoughts in your future. However, we advise care in disturbing the channel for a few moments, and then the proper procedure for aiding an instrument who has, to some extent, the need of re-entering the mind-body-spirit complex, which the instrument has chosen for the life experience of this time-space. Do you understand how to nurture this instrument? No. Could you explain it? We suggest first a brief period of silence, then the repetition of the instrument's vibratory complex of sound in your density, which you call name. Repeat until an answer is obtained. Then the laying on of the hands at the neck region for a brief period so that the instrument may recharge the batteries, which are not, shall we say, full of essence of this particular field at this time. And finally, the gift of water, into which the love of all present has been given. This will restore this entity, for her distortions contain great sensitivity toward the vibrations of love, and the charged water will affect comfort. Do you now understand? Not completely. I am Ra. We search your mind to find the vibration. Nickname. It is the vibration from which which contains the largest amount of what you would call love. Others call this entity first name. The charging of the water is done by those present placing their hands over the glass and visualizing the power of love entering the water. This will charge that very effective medium with those vibrations, which is actually true. There was an experiment that was done which shows the power of water and how it affects things. But let me see, maybe I can find that video. Charging water with frequency. I can't find a video right now, but I will later. Alright. So continuing on. The instrument is at this time quite fatigued. However, her heart is such that she continues to remain open to us as a useful channel. This is why we have spent the time-space explaining how this distortion of what you may call fatigue may be ameliorated. Under no circumstance should this instrument be touched until she has responded to her name. I do not wish to take this instrument beyond her capacity for physical energy. It grows low. Therefore, I must leave this instrument. I leave you in the glory and peace of unity. Go forth in peace, rejoicing in the power of one. Coming back, session 2, January 20th. I am Ra. I greet you in love and light of our infinite creator. Mind, body, spirit complex communicate with you. Queries are in order of your projections of mind distortion at this time space. Thusly, would I assure this group that my own social memory complex has one particular method of communicating with those few who may be able to harmonize their distortions with ours, and that it is to respond to the queries for information. We are comfortable with this format. May the queries now begin. I'm guessing that there are enough people who would understand what you're saying, who would be interested enough in it for us to make a book of your communication, and I wondered if you would agree to this. If so, I was thinking that possibly a bit of historical background of yourself might be in order. I am Ra. The possibility of communication, as you would call it, from the one to the one through the distortion acceptable for the meaning is the reason we contacted this group. There are few who will grasp without significant distortion that which we communicate through this connection with our mind-body-spirit complex. However, if it be your desire to share our communications with others, we have the distortion towards the perception that this would be most helpful in regularizing and crystallizing your own patterns of vibration upon the levels of experience which you call the life. If one is illuminated, are not all illuminated. Therefore, we are oriented towards speaking for you in whatever supply of speakingness you may desire. To teach, learn is the law of one, is the most elementary distortions. In one of its most elementary distortions. Could you tell us something of your historical background and your contact with early races on this planet? Then we would have something to start with. I am Ra. We are aware that your mind-body is calculating the proper method of performing the task of creating and teach/learning instrument. We are aware that you find our incarnate, as you call it, state of interest. We waited for your second query so as to emphasize that the time/space of several thousand of your years creates a spurious type of interest. Thus, in giving this information, we ask the proper lack of stress be placed upon our experiences in your local space-time. The teach/learning, which is our responsibility, is philosophical rather than historical. We shall proceed with your request, which is harmless if properly evaluated. We are those of the Confederation who, 11,000 of your years ago, came to two of your planetary cultures, which were, at the time, closely in touch with... Hold on a moment. Let's see. Which are in touch with the few thousand creation. Belief we could. Okay, we are the confederation of 11,000 years ago, planetary cultures, which at the time closely touched the creation of one creator. It was our belief that we could teach, learn by direct contact, and that the free will distortions of individual being and personality were in no danger. We had no thought of their being disturbed, as these cultures were already closely aligned with an all-embracing belief in the liveness or consciousness of all. We came and were welcomed by the people whom we wished to serve. We attempted to aid them in technical ways having to do with the healing of the mind-body-spirit complex distortions, the use of the crystal appropriate to this distortion placed within a certain appropriate series of ratios of time and space material. Thus were the pyramids created. We found that the technology was reserved largely for those with the effectual mind-body distortion of power. This was not intended by the law of one. We left you your peoples, the group that was to work with those in the area of South America, as you call the portion of your sphere, gave up not so easily. They returned. We did not. However, we never left your vibration due to our responsibility for the changes in consciousness we had first caused, and then found distorted in ways not regulated to the law of one. Relegated to the law of one, sorry. We attempted to contact the rulers of the land to which we had come, and the land which you call Egypt, or in some areas the Holy Land. But unfortunately, we attempted to contact the rulers in the Holy Land. In the 18th dynasty, as it is known in your records of space-time, space-time distortions, we were able to contact a pharaoh, as you would call him, the man who was in a small life experience on your plane and was what this instrument would call, wanderer. Thus, this mind-body-spirit complex received our communication and distortions and was able to blend his distortions with our own. This young entity had been given a vibratory complex of sound which vibrated in honor of a prosperous god, as this mind-body complex, which we call instrument for convenience, would call Amon. The entity decided that this name, being in honor of one among many gods, was not acceptable for our inclusion in his vibratory sound complex. Thus, he changed his name from one which honored the sun disk. This distortion, called Aten, was a close distortion to our reality as we understand our own nature of mind-body-spirit complex distortion. However, it does not come totally into alignment with the intended teach/learning which was sent. This entity, Ikanton, became convinced that the vibration of one was the true spiritual vibration and thus decreed the law of one. However, this entity's beliefs were accepted by very few. His priests gave lip service only, with the spiritual distortion towards seeking. The peoples continued in their beliefs. When this entity was no longer in this density, again the polarized beliefs in the many gods came into their own, and continued so until one known as Muhammad delivered the people into a more intelligible distortion of mind, body, spirit relationships. Questioner. I'm very interested in the entire story that you have to tell and getting into the law of one in quite some detail. There will be several questions that I'll ask as we go along that may or may not have been directly related to understanding the law of one. However, I believe that the more proper way of presenting this is a teach-learning vehicle, is to investigate different facets of what you tell us. You spoke of crystal healing. One thing I want to mention is that when the instrument becomes fatigued, we want to cut off communication and continue questions at a later time when the instrument is recharged. If the instrument is suitable at this time, we'd like a little information about the crystal healing that you mentioned. I am Ra. The principle of crystal healing is based upon our understanding of the hierarchical nature of the structure of the illusion, which is the physical body, as you would call it. These are crystals which work upon the energies coming to the spiritual body. These are crystals which work upon the distortions from mind and spirit. These are crystals which balance the distortions of mind and body. All these crystal healings that are charged of purified channels without the relative crystallization. Okay, so crystals, other ingredients of the proper alignment, energy fields, manner appropriate within the shapes indicated to aid the balancing process. Go through the various crystals to be used as exhaustive to this instrument, although you may ask us if you wish in another session. The delicacy, shall we say, of choosing the crystal is very critical, and in truth a crystalline structure such as the diamond or ruby can be used by a purified channel who is filled with love and light in almost any application. This of course takes initiation, and there never have been many to preserve persevere to the extent of progressing through the various distortion leavings which initiation causes. I may further inform you fairly brief way on another subject. Yes, you mentioned that the pyramids were an outgrowth of this. Could you expand a little on that? What were you responsible for the building of the pyramid, and what was the purpose of the pyramid? I am Ra. The larger pyramids were built by our ability using the forces of one. The stones are alive. It has not been so understood by the mind, body, spirit distortions of your culture. The purposes of the pyramids were two. Firstly, to have properly oriented a place of initiation for those who wish to become purified and initiated channels for the law of one. 2. We wish them to carefully guide the initiates into developing a healing of the people whom they sought to aid, and of the planet itself. Pyramid after pyramid charged by the crystal and initiate were designed to balance the incoming energy of the one creation with the many multiple distortions of the planetary mind, body, spirit. In this effort, we were able to continue work that brothers within the Confederation had effected through building of one other crystal-bearing structures, and thus complete a ring, if you will, of these about the Earth's, as this instrument would have us vibrate it, surface. This instrument begins to lose energy. We asked for one more query or subject, and then we shall take our leave of this time-space. You mentioned that originally there was a capstone on the pyramid at the top. What was it made of, and how you moved the heavy blocks to build the pyramid? What technique was used for that? I am Ra. I request that we ask this question in our next work time, as you would term the distortion sharing that our energies produce. If you have any questions about the proper use of this mind, we would appreciate you asking them now. Consider them asked. I don't have anything to go on. What is the proper use of this instrument? What should we do? What should we do to maximize our ability and our comfort? I am Ra. We are pleased that you asked this question, for it is not our understanding that we have the right duty to share our perceptions on any subject but philosophy without direct question. However, this mind, body, spirit is not being correctly used and therefore is experiencing unnecessary distortions in the area of fatigue. The vibrations may well be purified by a simple turning to the circle of one and the verbal vibration while doing so. The following dialogue. Question. What is the law? The law of one. Question. Why are we here? We seek the law of one. Question. Why do we seek Ra? Ra is a humble messenger of the law of one. Both together. Rejoice then and purify the place in the law of one. Let no thought form enter the circle. We have walked about this instrument for the law of one. Your instrument at this time should be in trance. The proper alignment is the head point at 20 degrees north by northeast. This is the direction from which the newer of New Age distortions of love light, which are less distorted, are emanating. And this instrument, which find comfort therein, this is a sensitive instrument by which we mean the distortions which enter her mind, body, spirit complex, come from any of her senses. Thus, it is well to do the following. Place at the entity's head a virgin chalice of water. To the center, a book most closely aligned with the instrument's mental distortions, which are allied most closely with the law of one, that being the Bible, which she touches most frequently. The other side of the Bible, a small amount of incense in a virgin censer, and to the rear, the book symbolizing one open to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, a white candle. The instrument would be strengthened by the wearing of a white robe. The instrument shall be covered and prone, the eyes covered. We feel that, though this is complex of activity circumstance and may seem very distorted from a purposeful teach-learning experience, these elaborations on the technique of trance will ease the mind distortions of those about the instrument as they perceive improvement in the instrument's distortions with regard to fatigue. This was a very big roundabout way of saying that, but I understand. We add only that if these teach-learning sessions are held during time-space during which your sun body does not light your room, that it is best to call the instrument before the lighting of the illuminatory mechanism. I am Ra. I leave you in the glory and the peace of the Creator. Rejoice in the love and light. Go forth in the power of one Creator. Enjoy. We leave you, Adonai. All right. So I'm going to read session 3, and then we're at about getting closer to 2.5 hours. So then I'm probably going to close it out. But I appreciate you all being here and reading along with me. The Law of One, Session 3. I am Ra. I greet you in love and light of the infinite Creator. I communicate with you now. My first question is, did we correctly perform the ritual for starting the communication? I am Ra. The placement of the artifact designated to the balance of the instrument should be placed at the instrument's head for the least distortion of effect. The remainder of the beginning account of purpose is quite acceptable for those speaking desire to serve. Otherwise, the attendant emphasis and mind complexities would not have been affected properly. We caution you to guard against those who are not wishing to serve others above all else from taking part in the beginning or in lending their distortions of mind-body-spirit complex to any sessions, as we should then be unable to properly blend our distortions with those of this instrument. Shall I move the Bible, candle, incense at this time? I am raw, that would be appropriate. Moving the items. Is this the proper position? Please correct the angle of the incense so that it is perpendicular to the plane of 20 degrees north by northeast. Is this satisfactory? Please check by eye to make a fine correction. Explain the process. That should become significant distortion balancer. The incense acts as an energizer, a physical instrument, signifying its humanity and necessity. The wafted smoke is perceived in the same angle. Okay, thus energized from the lower and the higher, the instrument becomes balanced, does not grow fatigued. Appreciate your concern. This will enable our teach learning to proceed more easily. Everything appear correctly aligned now. I judge it within limits of acceptability. Question. At our last session, we had two questions that were for saving for this session. One having to do with the possible capstone on the top of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the other having to do with how you move the very heavy blocks that make up the pyramid. I know these questions are of no importance with respect to the law of one, but it was my judgment, and please correct me if I am wrong, and make the necessary suggestions, that this would provide an easy entry for those who would read the material that will eventually become a book. We are very grateful for your contact, and will certainly take any suggestions as to how we should receive this information. I am wrong. I will not suggest the proper series of questions. This is your prerogative as a free agent of the law of one, having learned and understood that our social memory complex cannot effectually discern the distortions of the societal mind-body-spirit complex of your peoples. We wish now to fulfill our teach-learning/honor responsibility by answering what is asked. This only will suffice, for we cannot plumb the depths of the distortion complexes which infect your peoples. The first question, therefore, is the capstone. We iterate the unimportance of this type of data. The so-called Great Pyramid has two capstones. One was of our design and was of smaller and carefully contrived pieces of the material upon your planet, which you call granite. This was contrived for crystalline properties and for the proper flow of your atmosphere via a type of what you would call chimney. At a time when we as a people had left your density, the original was taken away and a more precious one substituted. It consisted in part of a golden material. This did not change the properties of the pyramid, as you call it, at all, and was distortion to the desire of a few to mandate the use of the structure as a royal place only. Do you wish to query further upon this first question? What did you mean by chimney? What was its specific purpose? I am wrong. There is a proper flow of your atmosphere, which, though small, freshens the whole of the structure. This was designated by having airflow ducts, as the instrument might call them, situated so that there was a freshness of atmosphere without disturbance or draft. How were the blocks moved? I am wrong. You must picture the activity within all that is created. The energy is, though finite, quite large compared to the understanding distortion of your peoples. This is an obvious point, well known to your people, but little considered. The energy is intelligent. It is hierarchical. Much as your mind-body-spirit complex dwells within a hierarchy of vehicles and retains, therefore, the shell or shell shape of field and the intelligence of each ascendingly intelligent or balanced body, so does each atom of such material as rock. When one can speak to that intelligence, the finite energy of the physical or chemical rock body is put into contact with the infinite power which is resonant in the more well-tuned bodies, be they human or rock. With this connection made, a request may be given. The intelligence of infinite rockness communicates to the physical vehicle and splitting and moving, which is desired and carried through the displacement of the energy field of rockness from infinity to a dimension which we may conveniently call simply infinity. In this way, that which is required is accomplished through the cooperation of the infinite understanding of the Creator indwelling in the living rock. This is, of course, the mechanism by which many things are accomplished, which are not subject to our present means of physical analysis of action at a distance. Questioner. I am reminded of the statement, approximately, that if you had faith to move a mountain, the mountain would move. This seems to be approximately what you are saying, that if you were fully aware of the law of one, you would be able to do these things. Is that correct? I am Ra. The vibratory distortion of sound faith is perhaps one of the stumbling blocks between those of what we may call the infinite path and those of the finite slash proving slash understanding. You are precisely correct in your understanding of the congruency of faith and intelligent infinity. However, one is a spiritual term, the other, more acceptable perhaps to the conceptual framework, distortions of those who seek with measure and pen. Then, if an individual is totally informed with respect to the law of one and lives the law of one, and such things as the building of the pyramids by direct mental effort would be commonplace. Is that what I am to understand? I am Ra. You are incorrect, and that there is a distinction between the individual power or power through the law of one and the combined, or societal memory complex, mind, body, spirit, understanding of the law of one. In the first case, only the one individual, purified of all flaws, could move a mountain. In the case of mass understanding of unity, each individual may contain an acceptable amount of distortion, and yet the mass mind could move mountains. The progress is normally from the understanding which you now seek to a dimension of understanding which is governed by the laws of love, which seeks the laws of light. Those who are vibrating within the law of light seek the law of one. Those who vibrate with the law of one seeks the law of foreverness. We cannot say what is beyond the dissolution of the unified self with all that there is, for we all will still seek to become all that there is, and still are we Ra. Thus our paths go onward. Was the pyramid then built by the mutual action of many? By the mutual action of many? I am Ra. The pyramids, which we thought built, were constructed, thought forms created by our social memory complex. Then the rock was created in place rather than moved from some place. Is that correct? I am Ra. We built with everlasting rock the pyramid, as you call it. Other of the pyramids were built with stone moved from one place to another. What is everlasting rock? I am Ra. If you can understand the concept of the thought forms, you will realize that the thought form is more regular in its distortion than the energy fields created by the materials in the rock, which have been created through the thought form through finite energy. And the beingness in your, shall we say, distorted reflection of the level, the thought form may answer you in a more helpful way. This is rather trivial, but I was wondering why the pyramid was built with many blocks rather than creating the whole thing from created at once. I am Ra. There is a law which we believe to be one of the more significant primal distortions of the law of one. That is the law of confusion. You have called this law of free will. We wished to make a healing machine or time-space ratio complex which was efficacious as possible. However, we did not desire to allow the mystery to be penetrated by the peoples in such a way that we became worshipped as builders of the miraculous pyramid. Thus, it appears to be made, not thought. Well, then you speak of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, I assume, as primarily a healing machine, and so you spoke of it as a device for initiation. Are these one and the same concept? I am Ra. They are part of one complex of light, love, intent sharing. To use the healing property, as it was important to have purified and dedicated channel, energizer for the love light of the infinite creator to flow through. Thus the initiatory method was necessary to prepare the mind, the body, and the spirit for service in the creator's work. The two are integral. Does the shape of the pyramid have a function in the initiation process? I am Ra. This is a large question. We feel that we shall begin and ask you to reevaluate and ask further in a later session. This somewhat, shall we say, informative point. To begin, there are two main functions of the pyramid in relation to the initiatory procedures. One has to do with the body. Before the body can be initiated, the mind must be initiated. This is the point at which most adepts of your present cycle find their mind-body-spirit complexes distorted from. That's interesting. So, you must cultivate your mind before you cultivate your body, which makes sense. If you're trying to do something just by will alone in the physical reality, it's very hard to keep that going. The first use of the pyramid, okay. The body must be known in each and every way. Thus, the various functions of body need understanding and control within the detachment. The first use of the pyramid, then, is the going down into the pyramid for the purpose of deprivation of sensory input so that the body may, in a sense, be dead and another life begin. We advise at this time any necessary questions in a fairly rapid ending of the session. Have you any query at this time space? The only question is this: is there anything that we have done wrong or that we could do to make the instrument more comfortable? I am wrong. We scan this instrument. Your instrument has been much aided by these precautions. We suggest only some attention to the neck, which seems in this body distortion to be distorted in the area of strength and weakness. More support, therefore, to the neck area should be of aid. Should we have an instrument drink the water from the chalice behind her head, or should we have her drink from another glass after we charge it with love? I am wrong. That and only the chalice shall be the most beneficial, as the virgin material living in the chalice accepts, retains, and responds to the love vibration activated by your beingness. I am Ra. I now leave this group rejoicing in the power and peace of the one Creator, Adonai. And that leaves us here at session 4, which we shall go into further in another time. But let me just do that. There we go. So I hope you all have enjoyed. We've started the Law of One. We did a little bit of the introduction. I wasn't going to read 70 pages of introduction there, but if people are interested, we could read the whole thing. Yeah, I really wanted to get into this because it's very interesting stuff, and it could be someone just making some stuff up, as is the case in a lot of the spiritual community, unfortunately, but I think a lot of it kind of does make sense, and the way that talking progresses also makes sense to a degree. So thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I've got other things I'm going to do. Probably, just clean up a little bit here and make my space a little more livable. So I look forward to that, and I look forward to talking with you all again soon. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Semper Sursum, Excelsior. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.